Welcome to the Football In-Season Training video number 4. I'm Kenny Seifert, the Director of Football Officiating. As a reminder, we have been directed to continue our efforts on risk minimization, which includes the illegal blindside blocks on defenseless players. Let's visit again the definition of a defenseless player. A defenseless player is a player who, because of his physical positioning and his focus of concentration, is especially vulnerable to injury. One of the comments that I receive on occasion is this: but he turned his head right before contact was made, which means that he saw his opponent coming. Catching a glimpse of the opponent immediately before contact doesn't mean that the player is not vulnerable to injury. Remember, the definition is based upon his physical positioning and his focus of concentration. Seeing your opponent immediately prior to impact is not part of that definition. On a defenseless player, if the contact is forceful, but with open hands and below the shoulders, it is legal. If the contact is excessive, unnecessary, or incites roughness, it is illegal. In our video today, we are going to focus on unnecessary roughness, defenseless player, blocking below the waist, chop blocking, and sideline management. In clip number 1, we have a receiver making a catch attempt coming across the middle. The defensive back did an outstanding job of legally defending the play and breaking up the pass. However, the contact initiated by the safety at the conclusion of the incomplete pass is what makes this an illegal hit. It is illegal personal contact if a player makes any contact with an opponent, including a defenseless player, which is deemed unnecessary and which incites roughness. The intended receiver's physical positioning and focus of concentration makes him completely vulnerable to injury. Not only could he not see the oncoming defender based upon his focus of concentration, he actually had his back facing him as he landed after the unsuccessful attempt to catch the pass. A receiver attempting to catch a pass who has not had time to clearly become a runner is a defenseless player. If an airborne receiver has completed or attempted the first part of a catch and is not in a position to defend himself and is forcefully contacted by a player who, for instance, leads with his shoulder but is making no attempt to tackle, the defender is guilty of unnecessary roughness. On the other hand, if the defender in the same situation wraps his arms or otherwise attempts to make a legal tackle, the contact would be okay. In this play, the defender takes aim in an effort to punish rather than to tackle. Remember, when in question as to whether the contact was excessive, unnecessary, or not, the hit is to be judged as being excessive and unnecessary. This play represents and supports what was discussed at the beginning of this video. Did number 16 in white turn his head right before contact and catch a glimpse of the oncoming blocker? The answer is yes. However, his focus of concentration still makes him a defenseless player. This player, even though he caught a glimpse of the opponent immediately before contact, simply does not have time to avoid or prepare for the contact. This hit is excessive and definitely unnecessary. In addition, the blocker did not lead with his open hands. Another tremendous job by the officiating crew in penalizing for this illegal blindside block. Blocking below the waist is making contact below the waist from the front or the side against an opponent other than the runner, and only applies when the opponent has one or both feet on the ground. In the first play, as the defensive player makes an attempt to get to the quarterback, white number 32 dives low and blocks the oncoming defender below the waist. In the second play, the pulling offensive lineman dives from more of a side angle at his opponent's knees in an effort to take him out of the play. This play gets a little more interesting in its interpretation. By definition, the only players who can be blocked below the waist must be lined up on the line of scrimmage and be in the free blocking zone at the snap. In this play, the defender is lined up outside of the free blocking zone at the snap. Even though the ball is in the zone and the block may have occurred in the zone, the defender cannot be blocked below the waist simply because he was not in the free blocking zone at the snap. Both plays are unsafe, illegal, and must be penalized. A chop block is a combination block by two or more teammates against an opponent other than the runner, with or without delay, where one of the blocks is low, defined as at or below the knees, and the other is high. We have 3 plays involving a combination block that we will review. Play number 1 is a legal block, as it appears that the guard's initial contact is above the knees. Even if the right tackle was able to make contact, this would still be a legal combination block. Play number 2 is legal as well. The center's contact is up high and the right guard's initial contact is at or above the waist. Play number 3 is a different story. The right guard immediately initiates contact below the knees as the center engages him up high. This is a chop block and needs to be penalized. I want to take this opportunity to discuss sideline management for both officials and coaches. As a coach or an official, the most important thing to understand is why sideline management is so important. The first reason is for the safety of the players, officials, and coaches. As plays approach the sidelines, or more importantly, as speed plays are traveling down the sidelines, sometimes with a quick change of direction, officials need to be able to perform their duties without being placed in harm's way. These plays will require officials to run at a very fast pace down the sideline while their focus of concentration is behind them or towards the center of the playing field. If a coach or player happens to be in the official's path of travel, serious injuries can result to not only the official, but also the coach or the player. MSHA supports our officials in managing the sidelines and penalizing as appropriate. Players should be in the team box and provide the coaching staff ample room to be out of the restricted area while the ball is live. The second reason is in the spirit of sportsmanship. Coaches are not allowed to attempt to influence officials' decisions, disrespectfully address officials, or indicate objections to officials' decisions, especially on the field of play. I expect officials to flag this type of behavior. We are now on the backside of the regular season. This is the time of the season that each game tends to take on a more significant meaning to the players, coaches, schools, and communities. Rivalry games, conference championships, and PowerPoints for postseason seeding purposes begins to take shape. Emotions run high, along with player injuries. Be persistent, consistent, and stay the course. Please come to each game with a fresh mind and an attitude that allows you to thrive in these moments. Enjoy the next 2 weeks of some outstanding Missouri high school football.